This is Ahmed with Subtle Media, and I'm joined by the man behind the curtain, the infamous promoter, KALLE. How you doing?
That's quite an introduction.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
I'm good,
How's
I'm good.
things? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Welcome to my red couch here today.
Yeah, first time I've been here.
Yeah, welcome to the Tower of Power here in central London.
Yeah. So you were abroad yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so where exactly were you?
I can't tell you.
You can't tell me.
I can't tell
So,
you. I can't even tell my wife that.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, my next question was going to be whether that was business or pleasure. I'm assuming it's business.
It's and unfortunately, it's always business. Even when it's pleasure, it becomes business because this game doesn't let you go on holidays and things like that. They normally come. Holidays come with crazy stuff happening in the world of boxing. So they normally take up your time. And so I mainly travel on business, yes.
Okay. So was that sort of like location scouting, or was it just like meetings?
Yeah, it was like the FBI today. I mean, no. If you want to know exactly, I can go in my calendar there and tell you exactly the meetings I had yesterday. No, some fighter meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, had a good meeting with Canelo, AJ, Ryan Garcia, Tank. That was my day yesterday.
Wow, that's quite an eventful day.
Yeah, it was a busy one.
Yeah. So yesterday the MISFITS 008 card released. Is it?
The big announcement last night, 8 p.m. 008. Yes, it was. It finally got out there. What can I say? 2 fights in one night. The mystery opponent. Tag team boxing. I'm probably missing a couple here. And now we have Survivor Tag. Inspired, of course, by the Survivor Series, WWE. But yeah, we love a bit of WWE inspiration. But no, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, it's full fantastic athletes in this space. And it's like when we were going through how it works, and first I was, when you hear Survivor Tag, you think some sort of a tag team. It's not really tag team at all. It's each man for himself. So it's a format that's totally new, but actually in the boxing gym happens quite often. So you'll have people jumping in during sparring sessions, in later rounds. There's all different systems, and it's something that I've seen many times in the gym.
Yeah.
And there you even see that very good fighters can look bang average when they've got fresh guys who are maybe not as good, but coming in. So you're going to see, it's going to be very interesting on the strategy. I think the strategy of the whole thing is going to be the key factor. You might not see the best guy win because it will be about the strategy and getting that right. And we've put all sorts of things in there to limit the ability to restrict your time in the ring and let the other ones eliminate themselves, and then you come in right at the end and play the hero. That we've sort of dealt with that in the rules. The point system is very fair, I think. So you get 10 points if you've got a dominating round. If you've got a bad round, you get 8 points. And if you're just an observer for a round, you get the 9 points. But I mean, the main thing is really it's a very simple thing to understand. It's the last man standing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will go the full distance. But yeah, it's more about the whole concept and how it's going to captivate the fans, and we're very excited.
Yeah.
Very excited.
So Mams was talking about why the announcement got delayed. And he said that there were a lot of issues behind the scenes or pullouts. I assume related to the Survivor Tag.
Was more about actually, it's obviously a new concept, and everything in this space is still boxing.
Yeah.
And everything around boxing has to have rules, and has to be approved, and has to be insured, and has to be qualified by the commissions.
Yeah.
So that's really the hold up. So it's not really a hold up. It's a very excitable space. In the traditional boxing space, man, there's a promoter making an announcement every day of the week. Yeah. you know, so I don't really think the delay was that long. But in this space, I think even an hour is a long time, you know. So it's I get it, and that's great, by the way. If you're relevant, people want to see it. I saw we were trending on Monday night, like. Are we trending for what? We haven't announced anything. We're trending because we haven't announced. I mean, that's big. That's when you know you're doing the right thing. So, yeah, it took a bit of time. It wasn't really that much around pullouts or things like that. You know, obviously, the guys who've gone into it, hats off to them. It's the first time. I don't know how this is going to play out, you know. Swarms is going to be interesting. Nick Lameo, you know, we saw him, fantastic in Telford. First fight, I mean, I think he's got a skiing background. So you can see he's got a lot of endurance.
Well, maybe not that good at skiing because I think he had quite a bad injury recently.
Yeah, but if you've got a skiing background, it's, you know, skiing can go terribly wrong. So can boxing. But you know, there's the return of Ryan Johnston, who's been out a long time, 2 years. So
about that,
so he was scheduled to fight anyways. So we managed to get him off another card and put him on this card, which is great. B Dave, we all know B Dave now since that epic night with Pineda, and then Los Colados, or I've actually forgotten the name now. The Pino Colados. Yeah. His tag team, so he's a little bit more, you know, he'll be, as I said, it's not tag team strictly, but there is a tag element to it. So he'll be the only one who's dipped probably one of the only people in the world who's dipped their feet in that in that sort of water. So fascinating, you know. And Swarms, you know, we've seen the massive body transformation. Yeah. You know, he's good to go. He's training in a pro gym, great setup. You know, he's improving the whole time, wants to improve, and you know, it's going to be a very colourful, very exciting debut for Survivor Tag in Nashville, live on DAZN.
No, it does seem quite exciting, and with that, and also another tag team on it, it seems like your most ambitious card. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you know, first of all, it's great to have such a creative team at Misfits, and also at DAZN, to have a partner who gets it. You know, you could explain this to other broadcasters. I don't think they'd understand it. They were well up for it. Joe Markowski at DAZN was very supportive of us. You know, Mams. You know, I always call myself the orchestrator of controlled violence, and I call Mams the orchestrator of creative violence.
I like that.
So yeah, you know, it was cool. So I think a lot with a delay in the announcement, I wouldn't think too much about it, because a lot of the matchups are like Belcher against Rahman Jr., that's got me really excited, and I saw a lot of excitement around that fight. I just want to see Belcher in a ring, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting against a guy like Rahman, who's, you know, comes out of that pro family, you know, finding his feet in the boxing world himself. You know, he's had some setbacks. You know, we saw that last year on what was it, 003 in Austin against Greg Hardy. Came up short, but in a very exciting fight. And look, this space is, you know, it's not all about just winning fight. You have to lose fights to learn. And you know, Rahman lost a fight, a highly exciting heavyweight fight that actually could have been on any traditional pro card. And you know, when it looked out of place, it was a good fight. Not good fight. It was a great fight. Go back and watch it. Actually, what's great on DAZN is you can always go back and watch the old events as well, which I did the other day. I was trying to remember the Rahman fight against Hardy, and look back at it and looked how fun it was. And actually, DAZN has got a great archive like that. So yeah, check out Misfits on DAZN archive as well.
Okay, yeah. So when it comes to making these sort of, call them gimmick fights, what part do you have to play in that? Because you said Mams is the orchestrator, creator.
Look, we have very clear behind the scene defined roles. Yeah. Sometimes my role will go into Mams' areas, and Mams' role will go into my area, and you know, we're there to support each other. We're there to butt heads and sometimes agree on things and sometimes not. Sometimes I win and sometimes Mams wins. But in general, we always find a way, as you've seen. But the talent part of it, I would say, is 90% down Mams. Yeah. The broadcasting, let's call it the money in revenue part, you know, bringing cash into the business, that's more my end of it. And steering it like a ship is everyone's business. And you know, mustn't forget the main man, JJ KSI. He's the one who's pushing it and loves it. He's so enthusiastic about it all. You see it in the way he talks about it. He's a very genuine guy. I guess that's why he's so popular with so many people online, because he's authentic, you know. And Misfits, yeah, we're prepared to make mistakes. We're prepared to fall, to be able to run, as everyone should in life.
Yeah. And I assume you say you sort of bring in the revenue and stuff. I assume with the amount of events that have been announced, it's doing quite well.
Yeah, and you know, like I told you before we were filming, I said, you asked me whether I was celebrating the announcement of 008, and I'd actually forgotten that we announced 08 last night, because I'm up already on 09 and 10 and actually 11 at the moment, which are taking place in different countries and different places and different venues. But we have a great team now. We have a real great event crew, and we've come a long way from coming up to our anniversary later this month, when that first video came out and people said, "What the fuck is Misfits?" And it was sort of like this homemade video of JJ, Mams, and me saying, "Misfits are coming." And I remember doing this KSI and put it out, and I didn't even know it was going out. And suddenly my phone started going bing, 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 and it was like, what the fuck? Twitter's just exploded. And yeah, Misfits was born. So that's later this month. I've forgotten the actual birthday of it. A lot of people will probably celebrate the Misfits birthday at the end of August following 001, but the actual birthday is later this month. Well, we might do an anniversary show. We're thinking about doing an anniversary show around 001. And we've got a very big fight as well to announce shortly for the autumn. And there'll be lots of other shows, of course, later this year as well.
Yeah. Now, I was watching the interview with Mams and KSI about the 008 announcement, and Mams mentioned that you guys were going to get rid of the numbers and just do like titles.
Yeah, I think we're toying with the idea. What people will have to start to understand is you know, if you look at WWE, you've got WrestleMania, you've got I don't know the name of the other one, WWE Raw and things like that. So what people just seem to think is that every event is, you know, a pay-per-view. It's like you know, like 007 was, you know, KSI, Salt Pappy against Taylor, like, and this absolutely loaded card, multi-million dollar card. No, we can't do that every week, unfortunately. But we do, as you've seen on the other events, bring huge value for tuning in, and DAZN have been great as a partner and putting on that platform. We're going to start doing some programming in between the events, but again, we're coming up to a year, man. We've just announced the 8th event within that space for a company that didn't exist 12 months ago. I'd say we've moved very fast. In fact, there's stuff that I think we've left, you know, a bit on the byline that we need to pick up speed on, but we just haven't been able to. Stuff like, you know, our merch line, which is going to be launched very shortly. Watch this space. Fantastic merch line. We've taken extra special care on making sure that we're in the right fit on that. But those are things like, like, when the hell are we supposed to have done that in the last year?
Yeah.
Because also we're not the type to go and we'll sell. We've had so many offers like, can you sell us this? Can you sell us the rights to do this? Can you do that? We've sold nothing. We've kept it all because we don't want to let other people control our brand. So we're all about it being authentic. That's, like I said before, it's a big stamp around. If you look at anything that JJ does, it's really authentic. So when you see Misfits merch really come out, it's going to be stuff that he really likes. Right. No one's going to want to wear what I wear, so it's not going to be about what, it's not going to be KALLE the designer. It'll be stuff like, that JJ likes, and it's going to be personal stuff, So, but that also, people talk about a game. How the fucking hell are we supposed to have done a game in a year when we've done 8 events all over the world? So, yes, we are looking at a game. No, we are not going to sell it to some agent who's going to then go make loads of money on a game that we don't like. No, that's not going to happen. But we are doing a game. We are in the process of doing that game. It will still take a bit of time. But those are steps that we have to go through, and to make it, we don't want it to be diluted, our brand. Our brand is growing. It's growing super, super fast. But at the same time, at these early stages, we need to keep control of that. And our team's grown from, I think we were 11, 12 of us for the first event. We're now well over 30 people working around Misfits. In fact, on event nights, we've got with freelance, we're about 160, 170 people. Right. So it's a huge crew, but it's still not big enough to go and have like games, merch, etc. Yeah. But we can only build at a rate that allows for a successful, sustainable business. Yeah. Sorry to be so boring.
No, that's quite good. I wanted an update about the game anyway, but no, I think that's the best way to sort of like work on one thing, get that under wraps, and then sort of branch out. Yeah, but I think going back to the numbers thing, I think you can have the titles, but I think you should keep the numbers, because like there's so many influencer boxing events, like not just Misfits, like around the world, that I find there's like some in Italy, some in Germany. I think like having numbers just helps like with the chronology.
Yeah, I think you can immediately identify with Misfits with the numbers. Yeah. So I like the numbers. I think more what we might introduce is, for certain pay-per-views, is to give them an extra name on top or something like this. But that's something that, like I said, we're toying with and speaking to the Zone as well on a broadcast level around it. I just think it's important that people understand like the difference between a pay-per-view and a non-pay-per-view. One, if you're a sub, it's free, and the other one you have to pay for. And there's a reason why you pay for it. It's like, if you want to go and watch the new James Bond movie, you're going to pay for it. If you want to watch the old James Bond movie, you get it for free on Netflix, right? So This is not different. It's to anything else in the entertainment space or the sports space for that matter. But I do think that people sometimes they look at it, they're like, expect every card to be like, it's at Wembley or it's at the O2 or it's this stadium or that stadium. Like no. No, we've also got to build for the future, like names up, and it's great to see like the likes of the main event now. And I'm looking forward to see Ryan Johnston, who's the first time on a Misfits card. But at the same time, we've got 3 guys in that main event who have all been at least once, or if not multiple times, on Misfits. So you're seeing repeats, and the other tag team as well, fantastic. That's a cool lineup as well. It's gonna be interesting. Dean the Great in a tag team. Yeah. I'm looking forward to see that.
Yeah. On Dean. So if I'm correct in thinking that this is his last fight before our WALID rematch.
Yeah, I mean, they both won it. It was never in play for this card, so that's a complete bullshit rumor. It's in play for the autumn, and I'm sure. In fact, I'm not sure it will happen in the autumn. Providing they're both fit, of course.
So do you have an event in mind for that? Because I saw Dean put out a poll asking if it should be on the KSI Tommy undercard or its own event.
Well, first of all, KSI Tommy's got to get done.
Right.
So it's nice that people are already taking polls on a fight that's not actually done yet. But we're getting closer on that fight. We're very interested in that fight. So are they. And, you know, normally when both parties want something to work, then things get done, right? And, but at the same time, I can't say that, you know, DEEN against WALID Part 2 is a standalone main event. Mm-hmm. However, if you look at certain pay-per-view cards, you often see big fights. I mean, Pappy Taylor should have been a standalone main event. We decided to stack it up. That's something that we're looking at the moment. There's pros and cons to both, you know. But the event that we're planning for later in the year, it's so big that it dwarfs anything that has been done in this space before. It dwarfs Logan, KSI Logan 2. It dwarfs anything. The way this is going to be delivered is so big that it's just never been seen before in this space. It's going to do numbers like forget anything else that this space has seen. Forget it.
Wait, are you talking about KSI Tommy or another?
I'm telling you about an event that KSI Tommy doesn't exist. It's not signed, right? So if it's not signed in my world, it doesn't exist, right? Just watch this space because the event that's coming is going to blow everything away. Blow everything away that this space has ever seen. Ever seen.
You go. That's quite exciting.
It's going to be the one.
The one. Okay. I'll look out for that. Will I know it when I see it?
I'd suspect your heartbeat will go from 80 to 180 within 3 seconds of seeing it. Yeah, it'll excite. It will. It's going to shatter records.
Okay. We'll have to come back to that in a later interview.
We will. Sure. We will. I'm sure we will.
Yeah, but I think with DEEN and WALID, I think if you did do that on like the KSI
fight-wise, that's a fight. I've got to say, that's a fight that, as a traditional boxing guy, that excites me more than any fight in this space. Yeah. Simply, it was such an exciting fight. It was the ending was unreal. The performance from WALID was unreal. The performance from DEEN was unreal. Getting off the canvas, knocking the man out. You know, it was just proper guts and glory in 4 rounds. I mean, that fight. Imagine that. I'm just like, imagine it's a 12-rounder. You know, like that's just. It was really great boxing as well. Like people knock the space a lot for essentially what novices, but these two aren't novices, and you saw that it was a dramatic. Like that fight could headline any pro card, you know. So it's one that I'm really excited about. But do you make it 6 rounds? I think so. I think I'd love to see 6 out of it. In fact, I think both could do 8, but I think you'd still want to keep it. I think 8 would drag it out too long. I think 6 is the one where they can both go all guns blazing. 8 probably too brutal.
I think like at this stage you have to like build them up towards like longer fights. So.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, they've both got good pedigree, and they both. DEEN's very active, and so is WALID, and WALID's got that amateur background as well. So you could move them quick to an 8, but I think for that fight itself, it's almost like you'd almost want to see it in a round. You've only got 3 minutes to go at each other, I mean. But no, I think 6 is the one, isn't it? Yeah.
So you said KSI Tommy is not signed yet. Now I know Mams recently said that there were issues with it, but then now he said it's close. So what were those issues that were going on?
I'm not going to disclose negotiations. I know that people in this space do that, but I'm too old school. I've had the fortune of putting on some of the biggest fights in the world, and I've always found that when you talk about your negotiation, afterwards we'll talk about it. We'll bring it up. If we get the fight done, we'll talk about it afterwards. But no, all I can say is it's close. Both sides want to get it done, but we're not quite there yet. But we're closer.
Yeah.
Closer than we were yesterday, and yesterday was closer than the day before.
Now, there's a lot of discourse about who's going to win between KSI and Tommy. Now, Tommy's obviously...
If that fight takes place.
Yeah, if it takes place. Now, Tommy's obviously more... he's got more experience. But KSI is like a bit more explosive. But I think when the... after that last fight, like after the forearm incident and that becoming no contest, I watched the KSI video and he seemed kind of like down about it. He's like said, oh, he did all this training for months. And you know, it's amounted to nothing. So I think, like, do you think that might affect his mindset because he might be like more reserved, more like scared of like making a miss shot, like an illegal shot again, and he might not be as explosive?
No. You're reading far too much into it. It's compared to another sport, it's illegal. You're going for a legal tackle, and you miss time, and your foot comes in late, and the ball's already gone. It happens. Yeah. He didn't throw an illegal shot. No. It landed. Unfortunately. And you can see that and I'm not going to go into the details again, but you can see that his shot has landed and he follows through with the elbow. He does follow through with the elbow because also Joe is so finished that he's pulling him towards him. But I'm not going to that. But, it's all good now. It was no contest. Let's move on, right? We all know, that the fight was all going one way, and it is what it is, And I'm sure Joe will be back if he wants to fight again, and I'm sure he'll be in interesting fights in the future. I wish him all the best, and hopefully we'll see him. I'm pretty sure we'll see him in Misfits again, but for now, that's not going to affect a guy like KSI. He doesn't think like that. Okay. He's and he shouldn't, and he won't. Those things happen. I can show you fights where elbows land, and if you watch a pro fight, you watch them hold, and there'll be constant, punching around the back of the head.
Yeah.
Those are things that you learn in boxing gyms, right? JJ works out of a professional gym, but actually I find the way he fights is very unpredictable. Yeah. It's very unorthodox, and that's very effective. He's in and out. He's got a huge amount of speed, huge amount of power, and you don't know what angle he's going to come from. Yeah. He reminds me a little bit, if I had to put him on a traditional pro box, a little bit of David A back in the day, because David as well would have he'd have this sort of in and out style, and David was a small heavyweight. He was a big guy, but he was a small heavyweight. He was a cruiserweight world champion, unified world champion, who went up to heavyweight and became a heavyweight world champion, and I had the fortune to promote him for many years. And David has a similar style to JJ in terms of they didn't know when the attack was coming, and the speed. And let's face it. I mean, if you saw Tommy and JJ on the street, out of training, let's say 6 months out of training, Tommy would be the much bigger man. So JJ's asset is the speed and the power against him. So it's a little bit like David A back in the day with the heavyweights was his style. The in and out, bang, and you don't know when this guy's going to come in, and hey, he's a bit smaller, but man, he can bang. So that's I think it makes for a super interesting fight if it gets signed. Yeah.
Obviously, you'd be picking JJ to win, I imagine. But how would you say that fight goes?
I think JJ stops him. I think he's got a great training team. Alexis, Marios, they know what they're doing. They've been around the game for years. They'll have a plan. They've been thinking about this fight for a long time. And, of course, never write off the Furies, we know. A boxing family, generations. They know more about boxing and fighting than anyone else probably on planet Earth, definitely in the UK. But you know, it comes down to the two men in the ring.
Yeah.
And there I see JJ's speed and power being the deciding factor. The deciding factor that let's face it, Jake Paul doesn't have. You know, Jake Paul does some things very well, and he's, you know, credit to him. He's developing as a fighter, but he's never going to have that speed and power.
Yeah, I get you.
You remember Roberto Carlos?
No, I don't know.
Roberto Carlos was one of the most famous Brazilian footballers. Very, very fast wing back.
Right.
Exceptional for his speed. But
No, you know your sports history now.
well, he's not that old. He only retired about 5 years ago.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's a legend, man. He's like one of the GOATs.
I mean, I don't watch football that much. I'm more sort of into boxing. But so from what I understand, there's no rematch clause in.
But we haven't signed a contract.
We haven't signed it, but
so if we haven't signed a contract, how can I tell you there's no rematch clause in there? I'm not telling you. I can't tell you anything because it's a contract that, first of all, is confidential.
Yeah.
Secondly, isn't signed, and thirdly, is being negotiated.
Okay. Well,
I really admire your persistence on this one.
In the post-fight press conference for 007, Mam said that you weren't gonna think of like doing a rematch clause for KSI Tommy.
That's what Mam said.
Yeah.
It's not what I said.
It's not what you said.
No.
Okay, let's assume that there's not going to be a rematch clause in that. Is that more?
I'm famous for a rematch clause.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is that more like?
But I'm not saying there's a rematch clause in the contract because there is no contract right now.
Well, let's do it hypothetical because like obviously there's no contract. But would that be more confidence for JD winning or more like no pressure because Tommy's already beaten Jake?
I see rematch clauses when you work on promoting. It's rematch clauses about like it's a business decision. Yeah. I don't think there's a need for one here. Hasn't been discussed between the parties. Might be something that we get to and both sides want. I don't. JJ hasn't asked for one. Yeah. Tommy hasn't asked for one. But obviously, I've got to look after the business of Misfits, so I might ask for one. Yeah. But no, neither of the fighters have, to be honest. Tommy hasn't asked for one, and nor has JJ. So if anyone's going to ask for one, it might be me or Big John. But Big John might say, "No, I fancy a bit of that," you know. So I don't know. But no, at the moment, there's no discussion around rematch clauses.
Now, with the discussion on the Jake fight, it seems that I think Jake recently came out and he said now he wants to do it in February because of like college football or something. So is that fight looking like it's going to be made?
No, we haven't heard from them since we exchanged contracts and got a call about 10 days after the loss to Tommy Fury that they weren't interested in the fight anymore. Right. That was it. They went another way. Will it happen in the future? I guess somewhere down the line it will. Okay. But we're not talking about it right now. No.
Okay. Do you think that they'll, at some point, they'll be interested after the fight with Nate Diaz?
I think they should focus on the Nate Diaz fight for the moment. I mean, it's an interesting fight in this space, 100%. You know, I mean, Nate was at a recent Misfits fight. I think got a little warm up in there in New Orleans. So he's so that'll be an interesting fight. Also on DAZN. So I guess in a way makes that fight easier to make. We're both on the same broadcast, but that wasn't really. That was all agreed on the last when we were in a place really to make the fight. And they, like I said, they went off on another tangent. But good luck to them.
Yeah, that is a shame. But I think not last time I spoke to you, but the time before.
If we can get the Tommy fight made, it's not a shame because we were fighting the winner, so we're very happy about that. But we've got to get that fight made first. Yeah,
so there might not be like a point if Jake doesn't come back to you. Yeah. But so before when I spoke to you, you said that there's the possibility of bringing in sort of new pay-per-view draws. Now I know that you did have an agreement with Logan before he got injured. Is that something that could still happen?
I mean, he's such a huge character in this space. It's like he's doing the WrestleManias. Yeah. Of course it'd be huge. Yeah. Logan boxing once on Misfits. Would be amazing. But at the moment, I'm concentrating on KSI and Tommy. Yeah. So but yeah, I mean, Logan's one of the original names in this space. Massive. So yeah, are we interested? Absolutely. Of course.
Are there any sort of like fantasy fights you'd want to make with Jake?
Family as well, isn't he? So so I guess it fits nicely. But yeah, I mean, Logan against anyone's interesting on a Misfits card up there. But like I said, right now I'm going to focus on Tommy Fury. Getting him done for JJ.
Yeah, I mean, that would be good. But I think, like, with Logan, he was discussing, Dylan Dennis. I think Andrew Tate even came up. Are those any things that you'd like? He's on house arrest now.
House arrest. Well,
we'll see. We'll see.
We can make the fight in his house. I mean, that might be quite difficult. If he's got a big backyard, then we can make it. He's got a big backyard?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, then we'll do it.
He's got a boxing ring.
I think we do Andrew Tate in his backyard.
Yeah.
That would do some bites.
No, I think if he does, like, everything gets cleared with him, I think him and Logan would be a tremendously big fight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would love to have Logan on a card. That would be fucking amazing. I think he's like I said, he's one of the OGs in this space.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Tate on one of our cards would be fantastic as well, to be quite honest with you, if he's cleared of charges and everything else. I think it looks like he's going to be cleared, but
I think most of them are dropped.
Yeah, so that would be a great name as well in the future to get onto Misfits. There's a few that we're looking at and interested in for the future. I'd love to see Conor McGregor on a Misfits card.
That would be good.
He fits to Misfits like, yeah. I mean, that would be banging. That's something that we definitely like to look at. Yeah.
You think he could fight KSI after Tommy/Jake?
I think KSI Conor McGregor would be absolutely huge.
Yeah.
But look, we're talking about one mega fight at the moment, and we're trying to get made. So I'm not going to look into the future. But if we're playing fantasy boxing for a second, yeah. I mean, KSI Conor does some numbers, yeah. But there's a lot of interesting fights to make in this space. Big mega fights. But as I said, I can only focus on one at the moment. He can only fight. Well, then again, he has fought twice in a night before, but I don't think we'll be looking at that for the next one.
Yeah. So are there, other than Conor McGregor, is there anyone out there in the world that you'd really want to bring into Misfits?
I'll cut you short there. Sure. I've literally got 3 minutes left.
Okay. I'll ask you another question then.
Go on.
So with heavyweight boxing, we don't know AJ's next fight. We don't know Tyson Fury's next fight. And he seems to be holding the belt hostage, and then Dubois, Usyk's mandatory. So what's really going on with heavyweight boxing?
Well, I think it's money. Heavyweight boxing. This isn't something new, right? People make out like this is new. Oh, Tyson Fury can't get a fight agreed. Look, you go back and you look at big fights. How long did it take to make Lewis versus Tyson? It got made way too late. Tyson was finished at that stage. It was still one of the highest grossing sports events in the history of all sport, not boxing, all sport. Will Fury fight Usyk? Absolutely. Will Usyk fight Fury? Absolutely. In fact, behind you there, look, that's the moment that Usyk, when we promoted him with all 4 belts. So you can see I've worked with Usyk. He's a great guy. He'll fight Fury. Yeah. Fury, good mate of mine, Tyson, he'll definitely fight them. So it's just a question. They want to get paid right and take what's on the table. They've got one career. So you look at that from the outside and say, it's all about money. Well, yeah, unfortunately it is. They're getting paid to physically put everything on the line. So can you blame them for not getting paid in the right way? Yeah. They look at it and say, well, the fight makes 10 million here, makes 50 million over there. Yeah. You're going to blame the man, Would you quit your job tomorrow? Someone offered you 10 times the money? Of course you would, So that's just human nature, and unfortunately that applies in boxing as well. We're not lucky enough to have government subsidies and leagues, and so it doesn't work that way. Boxing has always been about promoters putting on fights. Promoters are not backed by governments. They're not public companies. They're normally entrepreneurs, families who are been in the sport. I'm out of a dynasty of generational boxing promoters. So, you know, there's only about 6, 7, 8 maybe big promoters in the world. Because it's tough. You gotta go through a lot to get the big fights on, and I don't think that you can look at boxing like any other sport, and when people start pointing the finger saying boxing's not delivering it, well, go on. But every sport got COVID subsidies, right? Boxing didn't, right? We're a sport that takes kids off the street and turns them that channels their aggression and gives them a chance at becoming superstars. This sport has made so many millionaires out of gutter kids, taking them away from gangs, whatever. But we never get help. We like I said, it's a privately run business or industry. So when people start pointing the finger at boxers and saying, "Oh, you should be doing this, should be doing that," it's not like football people, right? They're not paid like 400 grand a week to kick a ball. I'm not nothing against football. I'm a big football fan, but these guys are getting punched in the mouth, head, whatever it is, and you're gonna cuss on them. You're gonna say, it's not in the interest of the sport. They're trying to make the most out of their careers, and that's what it's about. And that's something that will never change. But in the end, boxing does always deliver. I don't go with the notion, it doesn't deliver. No, of course it does. Look, the events that we've had in the last year in boxing, yes, the heavyweights they need to step up now, but they will. You'll see this fight. There'll be some big heavyweight fights this year. Big heavyweight fights. Pretty sure AJ Deontay Wilder gets made this year. And I see Fury Usyk happening as well. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully that skill challenge event happens at the end of the year. That'll be quite good.
Yeah, and we've worked with Skill Challenge. We've worked with Saudi Arabia. In fact, I put on the first event in Saudi Arabia with George Groves, Callum Smith in the World Boxing Super Series final, 2018. Yeah. We were the first, so I've known them well, and they are real professionals, and they know how to stage an event down there. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if that does happen, I'm gonna be front row for sure.
Yeah,
but, I assume you'd be as well.
You.
Yeah.
Lucky you. I hope I get an invite.
Okay, I'll bring you as well. Last question: is there any update on Chris Eubank Jr.?
Spoke to Chris this morning. When you let me out this interview, I've actually got a meeting about it. Okay. So I'll give you an update shortly. But no, I mean, obviously the Smith situation is very frustrating. To be totally honest, I'm a bit disillusional. I'm always disillusional, is what people tell me the whole time. But I find the whole situation very flaky around what's happening on the postponements. But I'm gonna come out with everything when I've got all the facts. And I'm just gathering the facts at the moment. And I think there's been some things brushed under the carpet, and some things maybe a little bit too loosely looked over when announcing dates and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, Junior activated that clause on February 14th. Fight was scheduled for June 17th, which is actually this weekend. And we won't be going at that fight, will we? No. Which is a shame. Then it was rescheduled for 2 weeks later. None of the wiser. We're not boxing in 2 weeks either, are we? So, so we'll see. We'll see where we're going.
I'm quite excited to see what happens with that. But anyway, Kalle, thank you for your time.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Hope you enjoyed the red couch.
No, it's nice. It's quite comfy.
It's nice and velvety.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll let you go to that meeting now.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys, yeah?